Hello YouTube, Goddard Radio Moscow here again with another beer review for you as is usual. So for this one we're going to go back to Brewdog and we're continuing on with the IPA Is Dead range from 2014. Just so you know, IPA Is Dead is a 4-pack series that Brewdog release every year. It's essentially a single hop IPA, the same base beer just with one single different hop in it, and it's designed to allow their sort of followers to just get an idea of all the different hop flavours that can go into these beers. So number 3 in this series, I've already reviewed for you Kohatu and Amarillo. Number 3 in my review series of these guys will be Comet, which is an old American hop but has since been resurrected in Germany. It went out of production for a number of years, and I will be reviewing the final one in this series tomorrow, which is Experimental 366 hop. So as is usual then with my beer reviews, I'll take you through a very brief history of the brewery itself. As always, if you are simply interested in the tasting of this beer, feel free to fast forward a few minutes and you will catch that, and check out the link to my other Brewdog beer reviews in the video description below. So Brewdog were founded back in 2007 by two guys, James Watt and Martin Dickey. They were originally based in Fraserburgh in the very northeast corner of Scotland, but they are now based in the little town called Ellon, which is about 20 miles or so to the north of Aberdeen. But these guys are pretty much the flag carriers of Scottish craft brewing these days. They've grown exponentially really since they started up back in 2007. They're very well known these days for kind of having held the title of World's Strongest Beer, and they're also, as I say, they're largely influenced by the American craft brewing renaissance. Very experimental brewery. They have a small range of core beers that they brew all year round, but pretty much all of the other stuff is either a collaboration beer, a sort of one-off thing, and they do have some kind of rotational brews as well. So you really need to kind of keep up to date with them on social media to have an idea of what they're releasing all the time. And that's the only downside to this brewery, in fact, is that they release so many good beers, but a lot of them will only be one-offs, and it's a bit of a shame, but they keep producing new beers that are excellent, so you can't complain about it too much. The brewery also have a kind of mad brew pub chain, if you like. Pretty much every single city in the major city in Scotland and England have these nowadays. They're starting to expand that further afield. The latest opening was in Firenze in Italy, and they do have ones in Gothenburg and in Stockholm in Sweden, also Tokyo in Japan and Sao Paulo in Brazil, and there will be sites opening up in Brussels, Berlin and Paris, I believe, soon, they said as well, and they're looking at expanding to America, America, Canada, New Zealand and Australia as well. So keep an eye out for them in your sort of various areas of the world that you're watching my reviews from. You can also invest in this brewery as well, which is quite interesting, and you'll get a discount in their online shop and in the brew pubs as well, I believe, and the level of discount you get depends on how much you invest. But they're a very, very cool brewery who really listen to their fans. They have the mash tag beer that they produce every year, and essentially the people go on Twitter and vote for the main style, the sub style, the hop profile, the malt profile, and also the twist and the label art that goes on this beer. So they're very, very cool in that regard. But that's your sort of brief history of the Brewdog Brewery. Pretty much the flag carriers of Scottish craft brewing these days. The largest independently owned brewery in Scotland as well. So very, very cool to actually talk about these and be able to review them for you. But we'll get on to this beer itself now. So as I mentioned to you, the IPA Is Dead series is a single hop IPA series. They're all 7.2% this year. In 2013 they were 6.7, but all of the beers have the same backbone. The malt base is Maris Otter, crystal malt and caramel, and they are kettle hopped and dry hopped with the hop that you can see on the label here. I'll just bring up the camera and let you have a little look at the artwork on this one. This is the standard Brewdog artwork for the 4-packs. The 4-pack always had the shield in the middle, whereas the regular beers have it just over here on the sort of left side or right side, depending on what you're looking at, but it's always over here. So you can see on this one, 7.2% single hop India Pale Ale. I'll just read out the blurb with this, as I always like to do. At Brewdog, we are insanely passionate about hats, rock and roll, penguins, avoiding ghosts and hops. We bloody love hops. We felt that it was time hops went solo and got their own primetime show. IPA Is Dead showcases 4 killer hop varieties to create 4 radically different single hop IPAs. Each IPA contains the same malt backbone and is brewed to be 75 IBU and is enthusiastically kettle hopped and dry hopped with Amarillo, Experimental 366, Kohatu and Comet hops. To appreciate the true character, flavour and power and aroma of our favourite hops, you need them in their purest undiluted form. Can you say you've ever experienced 100% pure hop awesomeness? IPA Is Dead is brewed and bottled to do just that. So I'll just tell you a little bit about this individual hop before we get on to the tasting here. This one was originally brewed. It's a rare American hop. It was primarily used for its bittering properties, and it was used commonly in sort of craft style lagers. It has quite a high alpha acid content of 11.3%, and the beta acid content is rather normal according to the sites that I looked at, and that is 4.8%. And it was actually grown quite widely in Oregon in the USA about 40 years ago, but it kind of went out of production quite a bit, which made it quite rare. I think it was quite susceptible to certain dew diseases and stuff like that, as in like mildew and things like that, I'm sure, that I read. But it's since been resurrected in Germany, and it seems to grow a lot better there. The new variety is noted for its grapefruit flavours apparently. But that's a little bit about the hop there. So let's get this guy out and get on with the tasting here. As I mentioned, a 7.2% single hop IPA from Brewdog in Scotland. The standard Brewdog bottle cap on this one, incidentally, the white with the red dog. So we'll get it out and get it into the glass. This is another one, incidentally, I've picked up from Thistle News in Aberdeen. Lewis Patterson, who is my supplier of all things Brewdog, Totul, McKellar, and a few various random American wonders that he seems to get in his shop these days. Very nice little family run news agent, so go and check them out if you're watching in Aberdeen in Scotland. So, I'll just bring up the camera actually and just check that you can see the colour of this beer. This one is slightly clearer than the other ones I've seen in this series. As you can see, it's a nice bright orange amber colour. It's got a solid finger of a slightly off-white head on this one. Quite frothy actually, just a little bit of carbonation going up towards the bottom of the glass there. I'll just bring that under. You can see the colour of this guy here. But a very, very nice looking beer, quite attractive. Just a tiny little bit of sediment in this one, and some big bubbles just going up towards the bottom of the head. But let's give this guy a smell and see how we get on. It smells really grapefruity, this one. As I was saying, these are the sort of flavours, or aromas rather, that you expect from this new hop in its sort of new German habitat. But it's got quite a nice prominent fruity, quite a fresh juicy fruity aroma in this one actually. A lot more prominent, I believe, than the other two were, Kohatu and Amarillo. A lot more prominent in the fruity character of this one. But there's a lot of citric fruit in there. Some nice grapefruit just underlying there. Maybe even, it's not really even got a peachy sharpness to it. It's definitely a kind of sort of darker grapefruit that this has. Some nice kind of piney resin in there. It's quite sharp actually, but quite faint at the same time, if that makes sense. But you've got some nice kind of sweet caramel malt. It mixes quite well with a little bit of aromatic character actually in there. So a nice little bit of caramel underneath when you're sugaring it up, and a bit of bready character as well. So, but very, very fruity. This aroma is definitely more fruity than the other ones in the series. And if I remember rightly, this one is used as a nice fruity bittering hop, and the other ones were more sort of complexing hops, I believe. The Kohatu was a very complex hop, and the Amarillo was the same. It was less of a punchy fruity one. But let's give this guy a taste and see how we get on. Yeah, I can see this one. It's very nice, and it's not quite as punchy as I was expecting from the aroma. It's really nice and sort of makes the fruity character go all round the palate. Very, very nice in that regard. And it's got quite a big bitter blast to it. It is essentially a big sort of grapefruity bitter blast, as you would expect from the description I gave of this hop. You've got a nice pine resin character in this as well, and that isn't really too punchy. This is actually one of the nicer pine resin characters that I've had. It blends very, very well with that nice kind of dark and sourish grapefruit that's in this one. It's really, really nice. The blend of this is I've not tasted this in a hop IPA before. But that nice, the citric flavours just come towards the very front of the tongue actually, And the pine resin, and it's quite interesting because the pine resin in this one really sits at the back of the mouth with the grapefruit. It doesn't really kind of go towards the edge that much. You have just a little bit of it, but it's nowhere near as prominent on the edges of the palate as it is in some other ones. That pine resin flavour sticks to the back of the tongue like glue. It's got just a little bit, just a very faint bit of kind of aromatic and grassy character, and that gives you the freshness just around the edge of the tongue there. The caramel flavour that's in this one too, there's a little oily character to the mouthfeel of this, and it just brings the nice kind of caramel malts just towards the front of the tongue there, and it's really well done actually. This one's the best out of the single hop IPAs in the 2014 series so far. I'm really interested to see what the experimental 366 is like, but this one, out of the three I've tried, I personally think this one's the best one so far. But yeah, definitely a really nice kind of blend of grapefruit, pine resin flavours. They sit nicely on the back of the tongue. The caramel flavour just rolls towards the front, and you've got a nice little bit of citric flavour kind of going in with that, and the sort of aromatic and grassy freshness going around the edge of the palate. In terms of the mouthfeel, it's actually much like the other ones in the series. It's mid-bodied, quite smooth, slightly oily. But what you start to notice about these ones, and it is the basic idea of the series, you start to notice how the flavour of all these different hops works, and it allows you to kind of pick that up when you get if you look at the hop profile on the beer you're drinking, you start to see where all these different components come from. This is one that you would put in the beer, I think, if you want a very nicely rounded fruit flavour. The other one, the Amarillo, was one where you wanted to make the fruit flavour kind of more complex, if you like. So these would kind of, you can see where the individual components go together, and that's very cool, and that's what this series aims to do. But overall, this is a really nice single hop IPA, definitely worth trying if you get the chance. And as I say, it's probably my favourite one out of the series so far. I think they've done very, very well with this one, and if you do like a nice kind of slightly punchy but very well rounded fruity flavour, this is one to go for. But yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this beer review. I enjoy doing these Brewdog ones for you, so please let me know in the comment section your own thoughts on this beer. And hops, the actual information on the hops is always appreciated with these ones too. But I thank you again for watching my beer reviews, and please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. I hope you've enjoyed this one, and I will catch you soon with another beer review. Experimental 366 will be reviewed tomorrow. Cheers.